Welcome to another episode of the series on the World Tourism Day 2020. The idea is to highlight various ways in which you can explore the Indian subcontinent. Today, in this episode, we have what Daman likes to call as comfort hike in the Himalayan region, which allows you to walk, hike, trek in the Himalayas, allowing yourselves to be acquainted with the Himalayan region. At the same time, you're also in touch and in close proximity with the culture, the little villages and hamlets that dot along the way that you're walking. It's a very fascinating concept, one that allows you complete freedom and at the same time also allows you to experience a country in a very special way. I've always maintained that walking actually engages multiple senses and allows you to take in much more. Welcome on board, Daman. It's a pleasure to see you. For those of you who don't know him, he's been in the industry for a very, very long time. He's a cult figure in Nepal. He heads with the hotels and the lodges aspect of it, and also the travel aspect of the company. To begin with, let's talk about the whole idea of adventure where Nepal is concerned. We've been talking about a lot of adventure in the Indian subcontinent, but when we talk about Nepal, and there's always a reference when you're talking about treks and hikes. In fact, almost everybody on the panel really compared the adventure operations in India with what they have in Nepal, saying that if a small country like Nepal can accomplish, literally create a brand for itself in the adventure tourism, we can also do it. I mean, that was the sentiment. So how does Nepal feature on the world adventure map, especially in the trekking department?
I think Nepal has always been in the world map as far as adventure is concerned. In fact, we've been leading in many spheres, in many areas, especially on the walking and trekking side. But the downside was, so far, till recently, is that Nepal was known as a backpacking destination. I mean, for people who can rough it out, who can go sleep inside tents and can sleep on a mattress and not a bed, and, share communal toilets and stuff like that. So that was what Nepal was known about. Of course, that was the downside, but the upside was the Himalayas, fantastic views, the weather, and the flora and the fauna. But now, with the demand, with the wanting of most of clients now, that they want to do and they want to see these places, but at the same time, they want some sort of a comfort level. They want a private room at the end of the day and not sleep under a tent. They want a restaurant where they can order, can have a few good drinks. So I think the need was very much there, but nobody had it. We didn't have. And from tenting, it sort of advanced to a bit of lodge trekking, which was slightly more comfortable. Although the current Downey lodges were there, but they had their own clientele from America. They wouldn't allow other people to stay there. It was as if it was run like a private sort of a home where only the people that knew them or people that had contact with the Houston head office or the current Downey, Botswana or Tanzania is where they had their lodges, and they would only accommodate those clients. I mean, we didn't have many rooms. The biggest one was 10 rooms, and we couldn't accommodate even small groups for that matter. So we took over that about 13 is when we took over.
Yes.
And then we added a few because we wanted a proper itinerary made, and not just one night or 2 nights, but you could spend at least 7 to 10 nights there and stay every night in a proper lodge with everything along with it. So we bought them and we added another 4 lodges, and we started this. And not only did we open these lodges, I mean, it's not a 5-star deluxe hotel, no. It's just comfortable, it's clean, there's a restaurant, there's a nice bar with happy hours, and we made it in such a way, keeping in mind sustainability. Like for example, we buy everything we grow is from in the villages. We help the villages provide all the produce as far as possible, and we utilize them, giving work to a lot of the village people. Even as far as employment is concerned, we have training sessions in each lodge and employ just the villagers itself. There's hardly maybe one manager or 2 that are going from Kathmandu or Pokhara. The rest of them, 95% of them, are from the local villages. And that's where especially guides, for example, they know the local very well. So they can take you to every house, to every nook and corner and show you things. And we develop not only our institutions, but the village itself. For example, we've installed solar panels for cooking, for electricity, to all the villages, in every house.
In all the where all the Keren Downey lodges
where
are.
all the lodges are.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
And water. I mean, they had to walk for an hour or 45 minutes just to the water source just to carry a bucket of water. But now we've brought them. We made tanks to store the water in every village. Even we've installed grinding of the grains machinery. Initially, they would use the stone grinding things.
Yes.
And now they have electricity. What they would grind in a whole day, they can do it in 15 minutes now. Schools, their computers, we pay their teachers, and even the uniforms, desks to chairs to what have you, we provide.
Fantastic.
Not only one, but every village. That area, Tomijong and Gandrung and Landrung, where our lodges are, it's mostly Gurung villages where most of the men go and enlist themselves in the army, and they come back and they've sort of loved the things that we've done. And it comes from their heart. We help them, they help us.
So the treks that you do where the Keren Downey lodges are, you call them the lowland treks, and the base for all of them to start the treks is Pokhara. How do you fashion an itinerary with the Keren Downey lodges?
Ideal itinerary would be once you arrive in Pokhara, we have lunch somewhere. We take them to our office where they are briefed. So once they are briefed, they are given each a backpack. Most of them don't come with one. We give them each a metal water bottle. Most of them don't come with one. And we give them hats and scarves, and then they are briefed as to, how long they are walking, what sort of terrain they are walking in. We have a backup of a 4x4 Jeep. They are all rough roads, so a 4x4 Jeep has to be available. A car doesn't get there. So if the client wants, we give them a backup. So those people who don't want to walk the entire way can just hop in the car and reach there. But like I said, each one is about 2 hours, 3 hours, or 5 hours away. There's one in Dhampus, which is not even 45 minutes drive away. Then we start walking. The walk is about an hour and a half, and they reach our first lodge called the Basanta Lodge. It only has 10 rooms. It's a very small lodge, a restaurant, great views. The views from there are wider. You see a wider panorama, right from Dhaulagiri right up to Manaslu.
And what kind of altitudes we are looking at?
That one is only about 3,500 feet.
Pokhara is at what, about
2,900.
So you're basically moving up from 2,900 to 3,500.
Either start walking, it'll take you about 3.5 hours to get to our other lodge, which is the Gurung Lodge, or the Mala Lodge, which is next to each other. But the reason why we made 2 lodges there, or made a second one, the Gurung Lodge was already there, is because the demand was such that area it's got very beautiful villages around it, very beautiful landscape, great views of the river, great views of the mountains at very close proximity. And since the Gurung Lodge had only 11 rooms, and the demand was so much that we had to add the Mala Lodge, which is in a village called Tomijong, also called the Bee Village. So that's the second 2 lodges that you can
and Mala Lodge has how many rooms?
Mala has, that's the bigger one. That's the one I made myself, actually.
Okay.
It has 18 rooms.
So just one question. I presume that the original Keren Downey lodges were very small lodges, like 4 or 5 rooms. Yeah.
The one in Dhampus had only 8 rooms. We extended it to 12.
Okay.
The Gurung Lodge that I talked about just now had only 10 rooms.
Okay.
And
you made an extra room. Yeah.
We couldn't add another thing. So we added just one more small bungalow, which had 2 more rooms. So it's just from 10 to 12 it went to. Okay. But then we made Mala with 18 rooms besides that.
Do people stay overnight for a couple of nights before they start walking to the next one, or they
For a night, for 2, depending upon the type of clientele. The Mala and Gurung are very nice for families as well. It's got nice playgrounds, and you can just sit down and read, and you can go for morning walks up to the top of the hill and see sunrises and sunsets.
When the clients focus on the hikes rather than the stay is of course incidental. If somebody comes there just for the hiking part of it, which is what the interest is, then I guess it becomes a one-night stay in each place and they start walking the next day. Does that work out like that?
It can work out that way. They can stay even longer. The day they reach, they have to walk, say, 3 hours to get there. that day is gone. So they stay that night. So the next day, they do the village, museum, they do the
school,
and they do the forest.
Yeah.
And most of them say, okay, we'd like to donate something here, buy a computer, or give some money to paint the classroom, or make a bathroom for the students. We don't solicit money, but then if they want to do it on their own.
Are these opportunities for participation individual to each lodge?
Associated with the village, we do something like what we call a day in the life. It's actually a day in the life of a Nepali village. So what we do is take them early in the morning to the village, and they, from the moment they get up to the time they sleep, the clients participate in everything they do. Go and milk the cow, or get water from the nearby tap, cook something, what they eat and what they pack for their lunch, how they go to school, how long they have to walk. Clients participate in taking them to the school, interacting with the teachers, how they teach and what they teach. Then they come back to the village and see how the women work, how they till their land, depending upon the season, what is in the ground, what
in
is
the farms, the farming, harvesting.
They actually eat lunch in one of the houses. In each village, we prepared 1 or 2 houses, which we've kept very clean, and they use their cups and plates. They also learn the cooking of our normal dal, bath, and curries and achars, and spend their day. And then they go back to the school, bring the children back, and then they spend the evening doing stuff what the villagers do, teach the children, talk with the elders, what they lack, what they do, and it's a great day for everybody to spend. We just call it a day in the life, and then enjoy it to the fullest.
Really fantastic and immersive, right? The lodges that you're talking about,
yes,
are they the original houses of the villages, or have they been constructed?
They've been constructed, but to look like
in the original,
Gurung style if it's in the Gurung village, another style if it's in another village. Some are just very comfortable but simple,
with proper beds,
duvets, and proper mattresses, and proper bathrooms with proper plumbing.
What's the time of travel for this?
Except for the monsoons, which is right now, from maybe May, June, July, August. Those 4 months, you can go. It's very green. For weather, it's after September until mid-December. December, January, why we sort of really don't push is become a little cold. Although we have good backup, every evening, they get water bottles in their bed. We have backup heaters.
So temperatures go down to what?
Minus up in Gurung, which is the highest, then that area is 6,000 plus feet. It goes to about -2, -3.
Now, when we talk about the Yeti mountain homes, now that you said all of them are situated in higher altitude.
For that, you can't drive to Lukla. You have to fly there. That itself is an adventure.
Is an adventure,
Now, people with little money can chopper it there or chopper it back. Would be a little more expensive, of course, but then you are sure to get there because choppers don't need more than about 5-kilometer visibility, whereas planes need at least 9 to 10 kilometer visibility.
And Lukla is a very tricky airport, right?
It's a very tricky airport, and it's within a small valley, and we need to pass one pass called the Lamazura Pass, which normally is very high, and that's where the clouds sort of always gather. Even in the middle of the tourist season, sometimes the weather could just go bad for 2 or 3 days, and that way, that area, for those people who are enthusiasts as far as the Everest area is concerned, they wait for a day or two, or they say, okay, fine, we'll pay this extra and take a chopper. But then it starts in Lukla, which is almost 3,000 meters, not feet. And from there, we go downhill a little to our first lodge called, the first lodge is in Lukla itself. But then when we reach there, we reach very early in the morning. The flights go only in the morning, or mostly in the morning because of the weather. And since we reached there by 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, no point staying in Lukla. So when on the way back, we stay in Lukla. So we start right away. We get the guides and the porters and everything ready right there. The briefing is given. They take care of their shoes and their trekking outfits. Again, there too, they're given backpacks, they're given water bottles, they're given caps and scarves. And then they start walking. It's a 3-hour walk to a easy walk. Without any much undulations, to a place called Pagding. And that's down there in the riverbed. No views of the mountains from there. That's the first night. But a beautiful village next to it. So then the next day, it's another 2.5 hour walk. And this is the first test of going up. If it's a good walker, they can reach Namche Bazaar, which is a good 5.5 hours walk. The altitude of Hakling is slightly lower. It's 2,200 or 300. Then we get to Monzo, which is about 3,800. And then we get to Namche, which is 4,000 almost.
You're traversing almost 2,000 meters. The entire Yeti mountain homes, again, they traverse the Everest region, right?
Up to Namche is that one way to the Everest region. Now, from there, the road bifurcates.
Okay.
You either go towards Thame, which is not the Everest Base Camp region, and that is the region where we sort of facilitated, or we sort of pushed, because everybody was going towards the Everest. So we've gone bifurcated left and not right towards the Everest Base Camp. From Namche, we go to Thame, which is another 3.5 hours walk. And from Thame, we come across back to the other side of the hill called Kongde. That's the highest. That's 5,250 meters.
Wow.
There, I mean, you're as my clients will not be able to do the Kongde thing, not by walking. So what we do is take them up to Namche. From Namche, they stay 2 nights.
So Namche, you have a lot. There is a Yeti mountain home in Namche.
There's one further now towards the Everest region, but then we don't recommend that, but that becomes a little high. So Namche itself, we do day trips from Namche towards the Everest. And we don't even do Thame to most people, but there too, it's a little high.
Because of the height only.
Namche, like I said, then when you come back, we spend a night in Lukla. In Lukla is a lot of monasteries, a lot of schools that Edmund and Hillary made, and a lot of history. And the village itself, the Solu Khumbu is what is called. The whole area is called Solu Khumbu. So the Khumbu region is where all these lodges are. And Edmund Hillary, when he went and climbed Everest with Tenzing Norgay, he fell in love with the place, and he did a lot internationally on his own, and had a lot of created things like the Himalayan Foundation. And today, there's a lot of people around the world that fund monasteries, that fund schools, that fund villages there.
In Namche Bazaar.
In Lukla, in this whole area. And when you go past Lukla, there are day trips, not only to the Namche Bazaar, that whole area, you can spend a whole day, discovering stuff, the way the health post there is, the dental post there is, the highest dental in the world, they brag, and the health post, how they do it. And it's very interesting for clients. And then we take them towards the Everest, to a place where you might have heard, it was the first lodge opened by Japanese called the Everest Lodge. That was the highest up in Kumjung. And that's where another school of Edmund Hillary is. So we do a day trip up from Namche towards that. Then they come back after 2 nights in Namche, we either walk them back or we send a chopper, like I said, take them to Kongde, which is the highest. And from there you see a panorama like no other place in the world. And stay there for about an hour, and then the chopper down to Lukla. And we either stay in Lukla for a night and discover the areas around there, or we come back by normal plane. And
there are opportunities for heli skiing in these areas, right?
The heli skiing is not in the Everest area. There are, but then that's very, very, it's only for not normal skiers. It's only for people that are totally professional, totally adventure oriented. But in the Annapurna region, in the Annapurna base camp, around the Annapurna foothills, and there are a lot of these places where it is safe, and we have actually an Olympic skier, and again another Nepal lover, and he comes and runs these heli skis for us in the months of March, April, and October, November. We have to go from Pokhara, and they do sorties. One sortie from Pokhara, get to the place where this guy knows. So there's an area we could do. Then the helicopter goes, picks them up, and goes to another top. And then skis down. The helicopter goes, picks them up, goes to another place. So in a day, they may be able to do 3 sorties.
3 sorties.
Areas. And they come back overnight in Pokhara, and they repeat the whole thing the next day.
In general, what's the price? I mean,
in general, it's about $240. Per person. We are in the midst of refurbishing the whole place and really making it a real upmarket accommodation and the facilities, really, really upmarket, and putting in even air conditioning and stuff like that.
Why would you need air conditioning?
They say we're cold.
you mean heating?
Yes, seating. And up in the Everest region, we have these Bukharis.
Yeah, the Bukharis,
That we have that.
So the Yeti mountain homes, what's the keys in each one of them?
They are slightly larger. They have a minimum of 18 to 20 rooms in each place.
Okay.
Because the traffic there is a little bit more.
Yeah. And your markets are UK, Europe, American.
Recently, Japan has surpassed everybody. Last year, before the COVID, I think Japan was number one in both in our current Downey as well as Yeti Mountain Homes. But then, till recently, it was the US, UK. We work with the old French and German agents, not with many. It is really actually necessary to prepare way in advance. For example, if you give me bookings on a normal year now for March, you will not get a single room.
Okay, that's how busy these places are.
So you have to work.
So it's in terms of the teams that accompany them?
Yes, there were times when a few American companies send their own US guide as well.
Yeah.
But then now it's few and far between. So our guides itself are much more equipped, and they're very knowledgeable, and they know the pace. They know how far should you go. Saying, no, I can walk fast. I can reach there in 1 hour. The guides will say, no, this is the pace, and they actually go in front and say, okay, give them the pace. No faster than that.
What about medical facilities when on these hikes and things like that? So what's the
facilities? Enough for the main cause that'll happen is because of the different food. They get like you call the Delhi belly, you get the Nepal belly, that is there. But more acute than that is, of course, the altitude. Everybody is actually prepared to take Diamox or something similar. There are some people who say, no, I'm okay, and I've been up Machu Picchu, or I've been up Kilimanjaro, and I can. So those people, we actually need a medical certificate to prove that yes, this person has done these and they are okay. Otherwise, we do insist that everyone does take a Diamox or something similar.
You did mention about insurances, Daman, in the beginning.
Yeah, in Nepal, we don't have large insurances.
Does insurance cover these hikes that you're talking about, especially the ones that are going into higher altitude?
It is, but the adventure travel companies somehow managed to get it covered even up to, because they are climbers. It was these elderly clientele like Saga that didn't allow, because it was too much of a risk, I think, for a 65 or 70-year-old or 75-year-old to reach a height of 4,000 meters and not get sick. But there are companies, many companies in the UK and the US that cover insurances right up to 5,000 meters.
5,000 meters, yeah. And coming down to the comfort hikes with Keren Downey Lodges, which is the whole point of this conversation, what kind of food is served in these places?
We do keep in touch with the groups. So if a group is staying at Dhampus and if they've had a local meal, then the next place is something else. Unless they say, no, we like local meal, can you have another thali, for example? We very easily provide them with a thali. There are, all sorts of people. Somebody comes and says, can I have a pizza? We can give you a pizza. Somebody who says, can we have a carbonara or a Neapolitana? And we can give you a carbonara. If somebody says, give me a nice steak, we'll give you the basic food that you'll get in a restaurant. You get.
And also, most of them will be using local substitutes. Yes.
It's nothing from the fridge or the freezer. Or,
fantastic.
It's local chicken, just bought across from the village.
Just across from the village,
Stuff like that.
Yeah, and quickly, just before we wind up, about the rafting at Sethi River. So there's the rafting.
Back from doing all this. So rafting normally is sort of a relaxation for 2 nights. After walking and seeing all these places, you just want to chill out.
Yeah. Okay.
So down in the riverbed, we have permanent tents. It is under a permanent sort of a roof, but a tent. So you raft for about 3.5 hours. In between stop, we drive from Pokhara to a place called Damauli, which is in a small town. And this Sethi River, there's nobody else. Nobody rafts there. A few people have started, but then there's nothing in between. No, like the Trisuli, there's lodges, there are hotels, there's hundreds of them. Everybody sort of rafts down the Trisuli. So we raft for 3.5 hours, get to our camp, and that day is just, they're quite tired doing the rafting, so they won't do anything else. So they relax, they read, they take a bath. We have a nice plunge pool there. They just sit down and drink their beer in the pool, relax. Next day, they can do numerous things. They can again do a village, they can do the forest, and they can do a Dharampani. Dharampani is again something that we've done, we're very proud of. It is a village that was completely devastated in the 2015 earthquake.
Earthquake, yeah.
For 2.5 months after the earthquake, no government official, nobody came in. And we didn't know that it was so devastated until one of the workers of that village used to work in our restaurant. He was a waiter. And he came to me one day and said, started crying and saying, we don't have a house to stay and we don't have... And I thought he was just joking. He wanted some money. And he started crying and crying and crying. And I said, really? What is the situation? So we've got 40 houses there. About 32 of them are totally destroyed. Mm. And he gave the story, and I said, no, it's a long yarn, But then something told me, something's not right. So I sent 2 of my guys and said, okay, go down and have a look. So they went down, they walked for 3 hours, went there. They came back crying. We all went and saw. And it was such a condition. And we said, okay. I started writing to all my agents and saying that, look, this is what we're doing. We have 50% of the finances. We are actually taking those 38 houses to the ground and rebuilding each house. And we sort of made the first 2 crores, we sort of did it ourselves. Through our own different companies and our own hotels, our own airlines and everything. The rest I started writing to all my agents. And it took not more than 10 days where I collected another 5 crores. And we made the entire
village. Fantastic.
So what we do is one day, the only problem there is it's a good 2-hour walk.
Okay.
Uphill. So those people who want to see it, we tell them the story. All of them get so worked up and say, yeah, we're going to see that. We take them up there, have a meal there with the village. And they treat you like gods because they know that we have
supported them, yes, absolutely.
Each client is treated like God,
yes.
and the people that helped us, we even had something like 10 groups come the following year from the different agents that actually sent us money to see what they've done, and they actually created a group just for this village.
Fantastic.
So we take them up to that village, and that's the second night goes, and then the third day. They sort of have to again draft because there's no road. Again draft for about an hour to the main road that connects Kathmandu to Chitwan.
Chitwan, okay.
There's a place called Gaighat, change, and then they drive on to Chitwan.
Chitwan, yeah. Fantastic. It was really great talking to you, Daman, and full of information as usual. Lovely stories that you have to say, and the whole idea of these comfort hikes where people can really be up close and personal with village life, with with biodiversity, with views all along the way is absolutely fascinating, both as an adventure option and also as something in terms of explorations. And that responsible tourism, community engagement, and all this is woven into it quite unconsciously and organically is something which is, I think, today everybody is talking about regenerative travel, sustainability and things like that. And it kind of really amazes me that all of this existed. Yeah, you've been doing it for years now. We wish you a great World Tourism Day 2020. May this be the beginning of brighter and better things for the tourism world. Thank you so much for giving your time, despite your busy golf schedule, and I really, really appreciate it.